Hi, everybody. My name is Todd Menard. Thanks for joining me today. Today, we're going over the White Mountain and surrounding area real estate market statistics for the week ending October 14th. Let's get right into our numbers. This past week, we had 120 days closed on market, a month supply of 9.44. Absorption rate was at 10.59%. Average list price this past week at 697,840. Average sale price this past week, 663,436. And our list price to sale price retention came in at 95.07. Looking at active inventory, down again, 1,013 available properties. Pending is sitting at 30, and closed units month to date at 45. Looking at new listings taken, we only took 35 new listings this past week, down 12.5%. Our days on market for active is sitting at 127.9, and for closed at 88. Taking a look in the lower left-hand side where we have our price ranges, the upper half of that box is the active inventory by price ranges, and the lower half is those properties that closed this past week. So that's why there's a discrepancy difference between 45 total and the number there, which would represent 619 units. So this past week, there were 19, and these were what those 19 closed units were. So this way, you'll be able to see exactly the active inventory currently right now. 0 to 250,000 has 179 units. That's down 5.29%. And that's how you would go through this particular sheet. Closed units, for instance, the most active category is the 0 to $250,000 category, where there were 6 closings this past week. Each of those averaged a 37 days on market for those particular properties. Obviously, for the $750 to $1 million properties, there were 3, and that is averaging 81 days on market, those properties that were put into escrow or closed actually this past week. So let's take a look at our spreadsheet. Again, we have the week over week analysis. We have the same week last year, and then we have last month, the prior month, and of course, a 90-day out view, plus also the same periods the year prior for comparison. So taking a look at new listings, again, we talked about 35. That was down 12.5% from 40. We only took 48 listings a year ago. So again, it was still significantly, that's down 27%, still significantly more product it flowing into the marketplace last year than this year. Same time week. Looking at active inventory, we're at 1,013 units, down from 1,035. However, last year we only had 896 units available at this particular time. So again, the fact that people are actually still interested in putting their properties onto the market, even though we fell a little bit short in the new listing category, that's still pretty strong to have 1,013 properties available. And let's get into what those properties are. 2 of those are in the coming soon category, 79 in the condo townhouse, 5 factory built, 195 manufactured homes, 1 modular, 60 park RV. We had 3 plex, 2 ranch and farms, 668. Obviously, the site built properties is what is the largest portion of our inventory. 668, it represents right now 65.9% of the entire MLS up there. But again, that plus new home construction at 48, that is where the bulk of our product is. So we have 1,007 available properties that are non-distressed. We do have 6 REO and no short sale at this particular time. Taking a look at pending, we're at 30 deals in escrow right now. We were at 37 last week. Some of those obviously must have closed. We were at 34 the same time last year. Pending is really a point in time number. It's how many properties are actually in escrow. And we only use that to kind of see whether or not we have fewer or more buyers in the marketplace at any one time. Again, that's if there's X percent of properties in escrow, then that usually means there's an appropriate number of buyers, and those buyers that are not engaging that equal the total number of people in the marketplace. So again, we can look at those numbers and we can try and extrapolate, if you will, what's going on in the marketplace. We had 34 last year, 37 last week. So again, this is just a little bit of a retraction because some of those properties, even though last week was the first week of the month, some of those properties actually closed in the last 7 days. Looking at close, we're at 45 month to date for the month of October. We were at 73 last year, same time frame. So little bit of a lagging nature. However, what that could have also, without going back and physically doing some research on last year, what could have happened is there could have been a lot of holdovers August into September. which really just September and October, which kind of just made the beginning of October look super busy. But again, remember, for properties to close, they typically are 30 days old. So if you have, when you're looking at closing numbers, you're looking at really the production of 30 days ago almost. When you're seeing things like that. So, you have to take that in stride when you're looking at the numbers. So last year, obviously, some of those September properties didn't close at the end of September, and they kind of leaked over into October. This month, right now, we're at a 9.44 month supply, 8.99 the week before. We were only at a 5-month supply last year, so 5 is closer to a seller's market, which is 4 and under. We get into the 6 and over or close to 6. We're definitely in a buyer's market. And we have been for almost all year this year. We've really been in a buyer's market. So the buyers are expecting discounts off of the list price comparable to the list price to sale price retention. They're also looking for concessions that are built into the contract, meaning I want you to help me with my fees. And then, of course, also we're taking a look at inspection period, where the inspection period, they're really kind of expecting the property be in really good condition. And if it's not, they're negotiating that with the seller or they're walking. So, these are this is what's happening or normally happens, obviously, in a buyer's market. So we're at least 2 months slower right now in our current market than we were last year, this same period. And that's slow. That really is slow. So taking a look at the median sale price, 454, we were at 385. Again, the properties that closed last week, these statistics are based on last week, other than month supply, are based on last week's closings. So last week's closings, we averaged 697, for a list price, but we averaged average sale price at 663, 436. The median moved from 385 to 454. Again, we were jumped up 120,000, kind of makes sense. But again, in comparison to last year, last year's numbers were a lot more like we were last week, actually, because if you look on here, you look at the numbers from week over week, you'll see that in the last year, same period, 395, 385, 492, 540, they were a lot closer than the 600s where we are today. And that does cause that median, which is just the middle of whatever took place over the reporting period you're looking for. That's just the middle number. But it's good statistically to pay attention to that. Looking at days on market, went from 122 down to 88. We were at 99 days on market last year. So again, similar market, it's bouncing between 110 and 85. And we're looking at active inventory sitting at 211 last year. So we had some inventory, but not quite a lot, but it was stagnant a little bit this same period of time as last year. Then finally, looking at the list price to sale price retention sitting at 95.07. That means the seller gave up 5%, 4.3% of the entire list price to get those properties closed. So this number is based on those properties last week. We're seeing 88 days on market. Those properties that closed last week were averaging 88 days on market, not 122 like the week before. We were at 97.95. The seller only giving away about 2% last week, while they're giving away 5% is what those properties are representing that closed this past week. Now look at last year, we were at 95.3. 95.07, that 0.3.07, that's such a small number. But at the same token, it's comparable to concessions or comparable to compensation adjustments, things like that. So take a look at that. So what are we saying? We're saying the market is still okay. People are still putting their properties on the market. However, every single area has declined on the inventory. So we are definitely, obviously, heading into those winter months. Certainly the Priscilla hurricane and the weather we've been experiencing is beautiful. But again, at the same time, it's difficult for people to want to drive all the way up from the valley and go shopping, looking at homes in the rain. So that does put a little bit of a damper on it. But same thing being said, what's happening is you need to look at, before you write an offer, you need to look at what's happening in that particular geographic area right there. Maybe just the community, if it's a planned unit development like Torreon, or Prescott Lakes, Country Club, Prescott Country Club. So not Prescott, excuse me, Pine Top Country Club. So basically, as you're looking in those, kind of stay in those. You still pick up that one property from outside just to, prevent a price fix. But, do take a look at what is the list price to sale price retention in that community. That'll tell you what sellers are or should be expecting based on the list price discount. And then also go to the field that deals with concessions, seller concessions to buyer, and see what the number percent-wise of concessions is. That'll tell you what to also anticipate asking for in the concession field. So sometimes people need more concessions than they need the price adjustment. So it's more important to pay full price, maybe pay fair market value, and then at their least comparable value, and then and then include in there the concessions that they may need, or discount the property, including the concessions. This past week, it could have gone from 97.95 to 95 just because in those contracts that were written of those properties that closed, they didn't need the concession, so they took the discount. So, take that into consideration right before you package your buyer. You don't have a lot of first-time homebuyer issues like we have in the Valley. So most of the people, when they're coming up looking for a vacation home, second home, things like that, or relocating up north, they're ready to pay cash for properties, but not always. I have no data on that, so you'll just have to let me know what's going on from that perspective. All right, well, that's the numbers for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed those, and if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to give me a call. I'm also willing to help you show you the few reports that you could pull yourself if you're interested in doing a community, like if it was just Torreon, or just Woods Canyon or something, and you just want to focus on those marketplaces individually, let me know. I'd be certainly happy to help you. Thanks so much. Look forward to talking to you guys. Take care. Have a great day.